Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's October 11th, 2023. We're off to KAITECH again. Yesterday was a really good day. We had a number of interviews. We've got some amazing candidates. Then I got to the end of the day. Excuse me. I'm like hiccups. At the end of the day, I got to hang out with Gerald and Jake and Mackenzie and went and got a beer and just talked about business and what's going on. And we talked about America's Holding Company, and they had an interesting, so for the future of society investment opportunities, they think instead of, so right now, if a subscriber has a baby, if they get married, get divorced, adopt a child, graduate high school, graduate college, these are all things that earn subscribers more ownership in America's Holding Company. But they're event style things. Jake's opinion was events are going to happen throughout life, and events that are compensated and events that aren't. So what if instead of doing it based on that, it was just based on how long you're a subscriber? So every 3 years you get X or something like that, which I'd never looked at it that way. I'd be interested on your guys' take. Do you think it makes more sense to let people to celebrate these events with them when the events happen, or does it make more sense to just say, hey, as a subscriber, you get this based on the longevity of your subscription? Which I thought, on one side, I really like it because it's much simpler to track. So there are two pieces of feedback. This was one of them about the future of society investment opportunities. I like this suggestion because it really would make it easier to track. Because it's just based on time, regardless of the event that happens during that time. On the flip side, these events generate expenses immediately. And my goal with the future of society investment opportunity was that people, America's Holding Company, can sell severely discounted shares to our owners who could turn around and sell them at going market price to create cash flow for them as an individual in that season of their life, was my thought. But it would be a lot easier to track and manage if we did it just based on time. So if you have any opinions on that, I'd love to hear them. The second piece of advice, so currently individuals subscribe to America's Holding Company, and that's how you access the future of society investment opportunities. Businesses subscribe to the National Tax Strategy Education Program, and based on your subscription level determines how much equity every W-2 employee gets in America's Holding Company each year multiplied by the number of years they've been employed there. And the reasoning behind it, the thought process was, well, if a company, like, I'm going to use an hyperbole of Amazon. So let's say Amazon was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity. We're willing to jump in. And they've got 1.2 million employee or 1.5 million employees, somewhere around that. every single employee would be involved in the Class B shares. So his thought, opinion, advice was that we need to charge per employee rather than per company. So instead of having one blanket price, it'd be like $2,000 plus $50 per head, something like that. What I don't like about it is it makes it harder to manage and track, which is going to add headcount to the organization to take care of all of that. Whereas if I keep it a flat fee, I leave it up to the clients to do the paperwork of how many employees and when start dates and all that was. And we just process the paperwork once they submit it. Which I think that is a lot easier, and our target market is small business. So a potential idea or compromise we came up with was, what if the first 50 employees are covered under the subscription, and each employee after that is an additional $50 a head, or whatever that price may be. Which I think that could work. Again, there'd be a lot more tracking, there'd be a lot more management of that system versus a flat rate to be involved. Personally, I prefer and am still leaning towards and planning to do the flat rate. I think doing a per head price would make it it would make it a lot more complex and more difficult to manage and track. On the flip side, his concern is, well, what if money's not there to pay for all these employees and everything, or founders selling and buying their shares? What does that look like? Which, it could be a problem. I don't think it will, because it comes down to when people decide what to do with their shares. Because not everybody is trading their shares every day. And since this whole business is built on a year-to-year timeline rather than day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, we're going to have a lot of people at a lot of different stages in life. And it's their decision of when and where they do stuff, when and where they sell their shares, how they sell them. But if they're not a subscriber, that decision's not going to be relevant because they're not going to get shares. So I think there are still so many variables in what I'm trying to accomplish. And the reason I do these video entries, these journal entries, is because I want to bring people with me on the journey of figuring this out. I've been working on this for 2 years. Last night, after hanging out with the guys from KAITECH, I went over to my friend Jen's, who runs Formula Done marketing agency, and confirmed that she's one of the first businesses we're acquiring. We're acquiring 25% of Formula Done to do the marketing for me and any of these companies that want help with marketing. And the goal is to create an ecosystem of people who buy from each other because we're all working for the same team. We're all going in the same direction, even though there's no common leadership or so there's common ownership, but there's not a common focus. Or, hey, we all have to do this. Hey, we all have to brand this way. It's completely up to the individual. So I went and hung out with her, and she's been on this. We've been friends for 5 years now, 4 years. And last night she said, I think I'm starting to see what you see, which is really cool. It is really cool that people are starting to see it on top of just myself. And so we're buying the plan is to buy 25% of KAITECH, Project Tools, and Formula Done Marketing. And then we buy 100% of Frontline Flags. And all 4 of those companies' ownership is in America's Holding Company. And then each of those companies is also a subscriber to America's Holding Company, which means they're getting ownership. All the employees are getting ownership together. And that's what links us all together through ownership. And America's Holding Company has ownership of my personal blog. And that is how this is all set up, is based on me documenting my journey. And if people subscribe to the journey, they get ownership in the assets I use to document that journey, like these glasses. And so that's what people are buying into, is this vision of the future. It may work, it may not. But that's the reality of life in all business, is it may work and it may not. So I'm very excited. Things are going really well. We're putting this deal together, guys. I'm so excited you're on the journey. So if you have feedback or thoughts on any of this, I would love to hear them. With that said, have a great day. We'll talk to y'all soon.